What is up, everybody? Welcome to a little crunch time, the second free crunch time of the day. We're just out here giving the goodies away and joined today by Derek Carty and Justin Van Duten. Carty, what up, man?
Not much. How's it going?
Pretty good. No major complaints, at least DFS wise, weather wise. Things are fairly quiet. So, I'm just here to listen to you guys and facilitate the conversation a bit. We got Cards as well coming in with some tournament takes as usual. How are you, Cards?
Yeah, doing good. This is kind of a yucky night slate. The afternoon slate maybe had a little bit more to offer from a discussion standpoint. This one's going to be a little bit rough tonight, but everyone's dealing with the same slate, so we'll see if we can. There's certainly some spots where you can get leverage in tournaments tonight when you start to see what some of the chalk is going to be, particularly with the pitching. So. Interesting one tonight. Only 4 games, so we'll have plenty of time to get through everything, and we'll try to make this lipstick on the pig, as they say, and make it a more enjoyable 4-gamer than what it might look like on the surface.
Okay, well, I don't want to put pressure on you guys, but in the free afternoon crunch time that we did, the guys were pretty big on fading Molly and playing a bunch of San Francisco, and I'm pretty sure that worked out all right.
That would have been the play. I believe they scored 19 runs, so that's a handful.
Yeah. So all you guys got to do is just live up to that. We got to keep that rolling a little bit. By the way, this is, as I mentioned, a free crunch time, which means if you're watching in YouTube, usually the show is not free. If you want to join us, you get $10 off your RotoGrinders Premium subscription, whether you do the combo or the single sport package. So go ahead, do that. And also, now would be a good time to hit that like and subscribe button because you're about to get the goods. And I guess that's where I stop and you guys begin. Carty, you want to lead us off talking about some pitchers?
Yeah. So, ownership on pitchers today is like super condensed. The projections have 3 guys over 50% and everyone else just kind of picking up scraps. And I think 2 of those guys make a lot of sense. And I think the third guy is a super easy fade.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. You've got me hooked. That was a nice teaser. I'm in. What do you got?
Yeah. So the top guy on the slate is Drew Smiley. Just in a raw sense, point per dollar wise, he's just the best bang for your buck, raw point kind of guy. He's, one of the more talented pitchers on the slate, which isn't saying a lot because it's a 4-game slate that pitching gets gross very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's fairly talented. He's facing the worst offense in baseball in the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is a somewhat strikeout-friendly version of this lineup. Jacob Stallings is batting 4th. He's back. Gregory Polanco's back, hitting 5th. This is a bad lineup, and it's a more strikeout-heavy version of a lineup that's always really bad, just a little bit less strikeout-friendly. So it's a good spot for Smiley. He's going to get a bunch of offensive support against one of the worst pitchers of the day. He's got a pitcher's umpire, and so Smiley is the best pitcher of the day. Vincent Velasquez is number 2. He's too cheap for who he is. He's 7.5K. He's facing a Miami Marlins offense that is also very bad, that is also rolling out a very strikeout-friendly version of their lineup. And so he's just he's a better pitcher than people think. Like, people think Velasquez is bad because he has his blow-up outings on occasion. Like, he's a fly ball guy who pitches in a home run park. And he's, he has control issues. So, he's all over the place. But in general, he's an above average pitcher in a really good matchup, and he's way too cheap. And so those 2 guys going to be high owned. They're your cash guys for sure. And the ownership on them is good. Do whatever you want with them in tournaments, play them at, whatever. Sandy Alcantara is the guy that I think is just severely over-owned today. I have no interest in him in his ownership. I would very much want to stack against him in GPPs to get the leverage. I just don't see the need for it. For one, he's way more expensive than Smiley or Velasquez. Smiley's 8.4, Velasquez is 7.5, and Alcantara is 9.3. So you're not getting any sort of discount. You have to pay a premium to get the guy who projects worse. Smiley and Velasquez project for 21 points and 19.5 points. Alcantara projects for 15. So it's a pretty steep drop off. Yes, he's a good pitcher. In general, he's a better pitcher than Smiley or Velasquez, but he's not as good as people think. He's not great. He's just good. He gets a big park downgrade going into Philadelphia against a little bit of an underrated Phillies lineup. It is a strikeout heavy version of the Phillies lineup. I'll give him that, but he's not a super strikeout pitcher. Like Velasquez is way more of a strikeout pitcher than Alcantara is, and he's facing a strikeout heavy lineup. A strikeout heavy lineup that is much worse in quality than the lineup that Alcantara is facing. The gap in their talent just isn't big enough to justify, even Alcantara straight up, much less as a 2K premium kind of guy. So it's just a no for me. Steven Matz is also super overpriced at 9K, but he projects for literally the same as Alcantara, 15.07 points, both of them. And he is going to be 4 times lower owned. So, people think Alcantara is the better pitcher, and he is, but not by that much. They perceive this matchup as being better because people think Philly is horrible, and it's not a good Philly lineup today. But Boston is overperforming. Boston isn't as good as people think they are. And so at 4 times lower ownership, I think Matz is just easily the pivot in GPPs.
Okay, well, these are strong takes, and I feel like they're fairly spicy takes as well. So, Cards, get in on this action. Start talking about Alcantara, and then just talk to me about pitchers in general.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of other pitchers that Carty didn't mention. I mean, so David Price is going to start now for the Dodgers, but it's going to be a piggyback situation with him, and I really just don't have much interest in trying to figure that out. I'm not playing Pivetta in that park against Toronto. That's a pass when he's the most expensive pitcher on DK. Will Crow is terrible. Merrill Kelly has been pushed back who knows how many times, and I don't know how healthy he is, and he's 8,800 facing the Dodgers. So there's really nobody to be interested in outside of Velasquez, Smiley, Alcantara, and Matz. I'm not sure where Alcantara's ownership is going to come in. I slightly disagree with our ownership projections here because I don't think he's going to be 50% on DraftKings. It would surprise me if he is, given the factors that Carty mentioned, the premium price tag that you have to pay, and the fact that Smiley's facing Pittsburgh, who can't hit, and Velasquez is facing Miami, who can't hit. But it's just, I mean, it's a really difficult day if I have to sit here and say that Velasquez, who's let everybody down, so many times, that you have to play him in GPPs at 55% ownership. It's just that it's never going to happen. So I think he's fine as your cash game SP2. But that's why I think the ownership is going to be higher, because people who are looking for leverage, like, they can stomach stacking the Phillies against Alcantara. Not a whole lot of people are going to be able to stomach stacking the Marlins and their lineup against Velasquez, or, the Pirates against Smiley. So I don't really have strong takes on liking those two offenses outside of it being leverage, but I'm saying all this to say that I think the ownership, instead of being 55 Velasquez, 50 Alcantara, 50 Smiley, I think you might see Velasquez and Smiley up closer to 60. And I'm certainly fine with them as a cash game pairing, but I think Alcantara will be closer to 35 or 40. He's good against right-handed bats. I like him. I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that at that salary, I think he's going to have this great, fantastic points per dollar performance comparative to the other guys. But I do like the way that he matches up against that Phillies lineup reasonably well. You look at the lefties he's going to have to face in there is like Brad Miller and Odubel Herrera, and those guys aren't great hitters. So as long as he can control Harper, big if, and the fact that I think his ownership is going to be lower than what we have it as, will lead me to being overweight on him in tournaments. But it's just an ugly pitching slate. Like, Carty made a decent case for Matz there simply because he's one of the only low-owned guys that's even rosterable in any format. Okay, if you want to play Pivetta at 9,600 against Toronto and hope that, the BABIP luck is on his side tonight, fine. But I don't have any interest in doing that. So I'll have exposure to all 4 of the primary guys, and, I'll probably be overweight a little bit on Alcantara, depending on where that ownership falls. Like, if it falls where we've got it right now, I'm probably not going to be over that. But I've got no issues with using a Smiley Velasquez pairing in cash games and then spending up on your bats.
Okay.
Yeah, I should say if Alcantara is going to come in more like 30% ownership, then dial back my tirade against him.
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Right.
I think a lot of people are going to kind of go through that same process you did, because that's pretty logical and it saves you money. And why not save money on a slate that's so gross for pitching, and then be able to get an extra bat or two. So I don't know. I could be reading that wrong, but I think that's where he's going to fall. So, and it's like, who else am I going to go to? Might as well play some in tournaments. If you're multi-entering, unless you just want to say, hey, I'm going to go 100% Smiley and Velasquez just because they're facing terrible opponents. They're both, pretty decent home favorites, and you're just going to go all in on those guys. Then, I don't hate it, but it's a pretty ugly pitching slate. Like we're talking about all these guys, and our standard projections don't have anybody above like 18 on DraftKings. I know Carty's are a little bit higher on a couple of the guys, but it's not like we're talking a Jacob deGrom type performance here. So, you're just kind of hoping to avoid a landmine and get some points out of your pitchers here.
Okay. Do you have any interest in Edwin Uceta? Because I think he's really interesting.
So have you seen anything about how they plan to use Uceta and Price and
Not
his price?
Really. I mean, Price hasn't gone deep at all this year. His max pitch count has been 47, and that was back in April. Since then, his max has been 18. So, I really don't think he's going to be able to go very deep. And that means when Uceta comes in, he's auto in line for the win. It's crazy. On this slate, he projects for the best chance of getting a win out of any pitcher, which is crazy because he's probably not going to go super deep, but it's a crappy slate. Like you said, Pavetta.
Yeah, and he's 4K. I mean, if he gets you 10 or 12, that's probably exactly pretty good for a point per dollar. Yeah, I'm gonna try to look at that a little bit and see if I can find anything. But you probably wouldn't expect Price to go more than about 3 innings, at most. And given the way that things are going, the Dodgers will probably throw a no-hitter tonight with all their pitchers they're throwing out there. And if he's in line to get the win, it's not crazy because of the nature of the slate.
That's kind of how I feel. Normally, a guy with a short leash like that, you just can't play. But on this slate, there's so many guys that you actually can't. You can't play Pavetta. You can't play Kelly. You can't play Crow. So for 4K for a guy, if he gets you, 10 or 12 points, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
He makes you way different. He makes your lineup construction so different than anything else.
Okay. I think that was really a wonderful conversation there on pitchers. But we do have to talk about some of these hitters, and lock is fast approaching. So Cards, why don't we start off talking about catcher here? I imagine there's not a whole lot going on, but
there's only 4 games tonight, so we'll be able to move through the bats pretty quickly. Yeah. Will Smith, projects the best. And again, if you're saving at pitcher, he's 4,600. You can probably get him in there. He is hitting cleanup in the Dodgers nightly rotation of who gets to hit cleanup tonight, and will still win. So that's Will Smith tonight. I like Vasquez in Boston stacks against Mats, and then assuming the Arizona lineup wasn't out as of the time we went on the air. I'm going to see if it is now. It is. And so originally we had Dalton Varsho in there as a 2,200 catcher, and Cheese actually had him tagged. But he is not starting. No, it's Vogt. So take Varsho off the list, and that kind of, that means you're going with Jacob Stallings or Andrew Knapp if you're punting the catcher position tonight. But
do we know what Vogt's salary is? Because he could be interesting if he's 2.8 or something like that.
I know that I had looked the other day, and he was 3.6. He's 3K on DraftKings.
So he could be an option then.
Yeah, he is hitting 8th.
Yeah, so I thought Varsho was going to be really good, but I think Vogt is still perfectly fine at 3K if you're not going all the way up to Will Smith. And then play a catcher in your stacks. Even though I really hyped up Smiley and Velasquez, you should absolutely have Marlins and Pirates stacks tonight, 100%. Even though Smiley is the best pitcher on the slate, the Pirates project as the best value stack on the slate because it's just that kind of slate that's weird and short and has whatever. And their catcher's hitting cleanup. So play Jacob Stallings in your Pirate stacks.
The Pirates are so bad that their catcher's hitting cleanup. And I believe last night against my Cardinals, Gregory Polanco got his first hit of the year off a lefty. And is he? Let's see. Let me look at and he is hitting 5th tonight. So, yeah, it's rough. That's why Smiley's projects well.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's talk about first base, and Carty, you can lead us off there.
Yeah, if you have the money, you want to get up to Freeman or Vlad. I think I prefer Freeman in this spot, but they're both really really good. The Braves are, I mean, they both have good hitting weather. Both in good hitting parks. The Jays more than the Braves in general, but they're both just really good. Freeman though, you save 800 on DraftKings. He's only 41 on FanDuel, so I think Freeman is the guy. I guess you could think about saving money, like Yoshi Tsutsugo is 2.1K tonight for the Dodgers. He's hitting 7th. He's not great, but the Dodgers are the best offense in baseball, and this guy is free. He's 2-1 on DraftKings. He's 2K on FanDuel. Probably prefer him in the outfield. He's first outfield eligible, but I think he's definitely one of the best values here. Garrett Cooper in your Marlins stacks. He's hitting cleanup for them tonight. He's 3.4K.
Okay, great. First base cards.
Yeah, I like Freeman a lot tonight. I like Atlanta a lot. Crow is he's not good. And ownership's kind of following with Atlanta being pretty popular, but I like them for their especially the top of their lineup. You get a lot of guys that bring power. You got some speed in there. And Crow has like a 13% walk rate in his major league sample and below average strikeouts. So I like Freeman. And basically Carty nailed it. I mean, you either spend up with him or you can go cheap with Tsutsugo, not playing Pujols at this stage. So it's Freeman and Vlad at the top. I'd rank them in that same order as well. I had a little more interest in Pavin Smith earlier in the day before Price was starting for the Dodgers. I'm probably going to back off on that a little bit, though. I think he is, he's still leading off. So he's cheap, but I think I maybe go with, a Garrett Cooper or somebody like that. If I'm looking for a 3K-ish play, and Tsutsugo, as Carty mentioned, is only 2,100. So Freeman, definitely my favorite of the bunch if you can get there.
Okay, card second base.
Yeah, so it's Kike Hernandez on DraftKings again tonight. He was 3,300 maybe, or maybe the same price tag last night. And everybody rostered him, and the Red Sox scored a bunch of runs. I believe he homered in the middle of the game, and he's 2,700 on FanDuel. So you play him at second base if you can, because he's 3,500 and 2,700 on the two big sites. Albies is fine if you're spending up. Semion's fine, but those guys are all 5K plus, and you can get Kike at 3,500. So most of your other values are hitting lower in the order tonight. So it's Kike or Albies really for me, or Semion's fine if you're looking to go against Pivetta a little bit.
Carty, anything different?
I think Muncy's actually the top guy, not by a lot. Like Semion's great too. Albies is fine, but I would definitely put Muncy in that conversation. He's a little cheaper than Albies, a lot cheaper than Semien. I think the Dodgers are probably I don't know. It's close. There's like a top 4 tonight, but the Dodgers are right there. And Muncy is a really good hitter, probably a better hitter than either Semien or Albies. So I'd give him a little bit of an edge. So if he's going to maybe be a little overlooked relative to the other two, then I definitely have interest in him. But Kike is definitely the clear value guy.
Okay, great. I want to get to third base really quickly, though. NBA Live says best catcher DK Cash under 3K. That's the guy we were just talking about, right? Was it Vogt, or was he it?
Yeah,
he's exactly 3K.
Well, that's great. He said 3K or less. So
yeah, so it's probably Vogt. It's that.
Whoa, Velasquez out.
Really?
That's gonna shake some things up. Really, what's wrong with him?
I hadn't seen that either.
Won't start due to injury during warmups. Hale will open for the Phillies.
I like the Marlins now, quite a bit, really. The Phillies, kind of going to use a bullpen game. David Hale pitched 3 or 4 innings not too long ago. I guess that was priced last Sunday already against Toronto, game they fell way behind. So that changes things a lot, because that's going to put even more ownership. Scratch my comment about Alcantara not being highly owned now, because it's basically Alcantara and Smiley that are going to hold down this massive ownership. Adds a little more appeal to that Dodgers punt also.
Yeah, I was going to say the bat's got a super hot take now. If I just click the X on Velasquez, it's like, nope, forget Alcantara, forget Matz. You don't need to spend up. Just play the 4K Dodgers guy. He's in like every optimal lineup now, which is kind of gross, but like that's the slate. So I guess I'm okay with that. You know,
who's the 4K Dodgers
it's an
guy?
uncertain situation though. What's up?
What was his name? The 4K Dodgers guy?
Uceta, UCETA.
Uceta. Yeah.
Okay.
Now we don't know even necessarily 100% that he's going to pitch. Like he should come in behind Price. We don't know how deep he's going to pitch. Like he doesn't normally have a deep leash, but he's 4K in a good matchup, and he's going to be auto in line for the win, assuming he comes in after Price. So, you know, it is what it is, I guess. It's a 4-game slate where one of the best pitchers just got scratched.
So I guess the follow-up question would be, do you need the money? Is it worth spending down and doing something risky, or do you just take the two safer pitchers that we still like, Smiley and Alcantara?
There's no second safe pitcher. I mean, Smiley's not even a safe pitcher, but you can't.
But those are the two best by far right now, right? Is Alcantara and Smiley?
No, I don't think Alcantara's by far.
Okay.
I think he's slightly above the pack.
Okay. We've got 13 minutes. I also want to talk about David Hale now. Do we suddenly have interest in this guy? I imagine he's dirt cheap, and he was going against the Marlins, right?
Okay, I mean, he's somewhat stretched out. So I was just looking into that. So he pitched 3 1/3
pitches.
Yeah, 54 pitches ago. 4 days ago. So he pitched Sunday. So he's had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off.
Right. So he's on 3 days rest. That's
yeah.
So
I mean, he's probably going to throw like 60 pitches. He's kind of there with the Dodgers guy, I guess.
Whew.
So, Cards, do you have interest in either of these guys, the Dodgers guy or Hale? Are you going to have either of them?
I mean, I don't.
GPPs?
I don't hate it. I will. By far, my biggest shift here will be to throw some Marlins stacks in more than anything. I mean, it's a good park. You're facing a bullpen game that wasn't expected. You know, Hale did not come to the ballpark preparing to start. Sometimes these, you know, it's just a lot of pitchers. Like we even see this with aces a lot. It just takes them a while to get warmed up in the first inning, and you know you could see a first inning problems here. I mean, again, it's the Marlins, and they aren't very good, so I could see either side of this. But the Marlins bats, because this news is dropping late, they're not going to be highly owned comparative to where they otherwise would have been if we had known all day that David Hale was starting. So I think that's the spot.
Okay, and then Carty, I'll give you one last time here to kind of clear up what you think you're going to do, at pitcher here.
I think it makes me more. I mean, obviously, I like Marlin stacks to begin with. I think they're fine still. It gives me a lot more interest in Philly stacks because Alcantara is going to be just super, super high owned because of the perceived safety of him.
Sure.
But there is a lot of ways this goes wrong for him tonight.
This is so fun. I wish I was playing this slate. This is amazing. This is like NBA with like late breaking news. This is exciting. I know you guys probably don't love this, but I am thoroughly enjoying it. We do have a lot more positions we got to get to. So we're just going to, each of you can do one position from now on, just, for time's sake. Cards, I believe were we at third?
Yeah, we're at third, where it's probably Justin Turner. If you're spending, Kevin Biggio is fine in the mid-range, though he's a little chalky for what I'd like with kind of a boomer bust player in tournaments. And I like Austin Riley hitting fifth for Atlanta at 3,500 against Crow. So I would rank my interest Turner, Riley, Biggio for the top three at third base tonight. Everyone else just kind of enters that GPP conversation.
Carty, is there anything else you desperately want to add at third, or you want to move on to short?
That's fine. We can move on to short.
Okay.
It's going to depend on the site. Bo Bichette, you're going to, unless you're just overpaying on Sandy, which I still can't stomach, you're going to have some money to spend. So Bo Bichette on DraftKings is the spend up guy. I think on Fanduel, you can play him, but Xander is a little bit better of a value there. Or you can punt with Josh Rojas, or on DraftKings, you can punt with Kevin Newman. And I think Dansby Swanson's in play on both sites.
All right. Cards, anything there that you want to add to shortstop?
I do not. I think we're good.
Okay, well then bring us to the outfield, good sir.
All right. So again, you can play Kike in the outfield as kind of a popular value if you want, but I think most people will play him at second. So this is going to be a spot where this is the position where most people use those salary savings at the other that they got at the other spots. Our projections have Acuna quite a bit higher than everybody else, and certainly because I like Atlanta so much, I'm not going to argue with that. JD Martinez with his power against lefties, like Odubel Herrera, will be popular because he's hitting second, particularly with those that aren't playing Alcantara. You'll see a lot of those lineups with Herrera and Bryce Harper, which is fine. Sugo, we talked about at first base. You can play him in the outfield as well. If you're looking for just kind of some YOLO GPP plays that are going to be low owned on a 4-game slate, guys like Hunter Renfroe and Brian Reynolds, I mean, they're not super exciting. Corey Dickerson gets a pretty big bump for me now with Hale pitching for the Phillies. We had him at 4% ownership, and again, the Marlins aren't going to suddenly come in super chalk now. They'll be a little bit higher, but it's not like they're going to be mega chalk. So Garrett Cooper, who I think Carty mentioned earlier when we talked about first base, so Cooper and the rest of the Miami guys, Dickerson, I think are interesting tournament plays now.
All right, Cards, you're staying young and hip with these kids. You dropped the YOLO on us there. I'm
that's
impressed,
not. I mean, YOLO's not that far out there if I know of it.
Yeah, it was like 7 years ago when I think the kids were saying it. But
so
hey,
it's okay.
Carty, is there anything you want to add there in the outfield? You have your concentration face on as you make adjustments and go through things.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure the pitches look right on Hale in the bat. Yes, I mean, I'm sure Justin mentioned everybody. Like Betts and Acuna are the high end guys. I think Polanco is a good punt. I like Harper quite a bit. I like Odubel quite a bit. Like, love the Phillies stack tonight. So that's Teoscar in your Blue Jay stacks. That's where I'm at.
Okay, you love the Philly stack. Any other stacks that you want to be well over the field on?
I think you should definitely have some Pirates stacks too, or at least Pirates secondary stacks.
All right, Cards. Sorry, go for it, Carty.
No, that's good.
Okay, yeah, there are. We got 4 games. There are 8 viable stacks tonight. You can stack any team really, and wouldn't be surprised if somebody put up some runs. I mean, in terms of factoring in ownership, I like the Marlins better now. If I had to pick my top overall one, it would be Atlanta.
Okay, excellent, guys. Let's dive into some of these questions, and I'm going to be taking these from both the YouTube chat and the Discord. By the way, if you're a premium member, you get access to us in Discord all the time. So another reason to join premium for you. But let's get to those questions. NBA Live says, DK Cash, Cards, this is for you. Miguel Rojas and Ozuna, or Boba Fett and Josh Rojas?
I'd go with the first one.
Prodigy, Carty, Fanduel single entry at 3v3. Riley, Bogarts, Gary Cooper, or Tetsugo, Swanson, JD Martinez?
So just zero correlation on all of it. Okay. The first one, I guess.
All right. NBA says, is Dickerson okay as a last piece in FanDuel Cash? Cards?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't think he's a necessity in cash, but I think he's fine.
Just look. All right. Ryan Henderson over in the YouTube chat says, DK Cash, another 3v3 here for you, Carty. Lux, Biggio, Betts, or Riley, Acuna, Renfroe?
Second one.
Eric says, what are your guys' thoughts on Arizona stacks on DK?
So there's 8 viable stacks. So I like him a little. I don't like him as much now. I think if you're going off the board, I'd go Miami. Arizona does have the lowest team total tonight. It's only 3.4 runs. Dodger Stadium, not always the best hitter's park, especially at night. So I don't love it as much as, maybe I would have a while ago.
Okay. I lost the question, but it was basically, these pitchers suck. What do you think about Matt's DK Cash? Carty?
Not in cash. If you're going to pay $9K for a pitcher, just eat the chalk and do Alcantara. But in GPPs, I definitely prefer Mats.
Great. Okay. Let's go to Rodrigue. He says, DK Cash pitchers. What do you think about Smiley and Uceda? Cards?
I don't think you can get to Uceda in cash just because there is the risk of a 0. I think Smiley and Alcantara is just the way to go in cash. I wouldn't tell anybody not to do it that I know is comfortable with that risk on a slate like this. But it's just so hard to stomach those zeros from your pitchers. And I would hate to tell the user, just do it. If you understand that there is a very distinct possibility that you could get a 0 there because he might not even pitch, depending on how Price does, depending on how deep he goes, depending on what the score of the game is, they might say he's the bolt guy, but is he really? And, we don't know until we see him out there. So if you're okay with that risk, I think he's all right. But I probably wouldn't officially on the record do it, in cash.
Great. All right. NBA Live says, I think we helped him out when he had 3,000 at, I believe it was catcher. He says, now I've got 2,900. DK Cash, Stallings or Jansen?
Cash. I think I'd probably rather vote, but I guess it's Stallings if it's let me look real quick. I don't know. They both suck.
Yeah.
It's Stallings by a
Yeah, I would go with Stallings.
Yeah.
Okay. D-Dot says FanDuel GPP single entry. You want Mookie or Acuna?
Depends on the rest of your lineup, really. I mean, if you're stacking one of those two teams, obviously I would go with that. Otherwise, I slightly prefer Acuna.
All right. Federico says, hey, Carty, in a GPP, who's your favorite lefty masher? Heyo. You don't believe in that, so we'll move on.
I mean, Kike Hernandez is against a lefty tonight. He's a lefty masher from what I understand. I think he's a pretty good play.
There you go.
That just applies to any righty hitting against a lefty, right? No matter the splits.
Sure. Yeah. Eric says, hey, any Merle Kelly? Is that really his name, Merle?
No, don't play him. That's just
okay, but that is his name, Merle.
It's Merrill, but yes.
Oh, I thought it was Merle. I thought it was like country, Merle Kelly. Okay, so no Merle Kelly.
No Merle, Ryan, no Myrtle, no Merrill, none of them.
All right. Ryan says FanDuel Cash. It's a 3v3 for you again, Carty. Albies, Biggio, Harper, or Tatsugo, Betts, Teoscar.
One more time for me.
Yep, it was Albies, Biggio, Harper, or Tatsugo, Betts, Teoscar.
Do the first one.
Albies, Biggio, Harper. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go to Joey Rock. He says, a better way to complete a Marlins Brave stack. You want Anderson Contreras or Riley Wallach?
That's a tough question because I like the Atlanta guys. I would go Riley and punt the catcher.
Okay. Rodrigue says, Hale and DK Cash, Carty, and you're saying you don't think you're going there?
No, the bats projection for him is wrong right now. The pitch count adjustment didn't take. I didn't get it in time. So his projection is too high. It's projecting him for like 95 pitches, which is not right.
Ah, I see. Okay. We've got less than a minute left here. So we did actually catch up on all the questions, but if you have one, now's the time, whether you're in the YouTube chat or in the Discord. If you're in the YouTube chat and you haven't hit like and subscribe after this show, first off, you're crazy. Second off, you should do that. This is wonderful. I love this breaking news. We should do this every baseball slate. I'm going to call in a favor, see if we can get late scratches all the time. It's really shook things up. Bring in your questions. Otherwise, we're hitting lock and we are getting on out of here in about 30 seconds.
That's like somebody telling you they want all the weather to break right before the slate.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, no, that sounds awful. Now that you put it that way.
No, I'm not trying to bring you down from your emotional high there. But I don't know. This one wasn't too bad just because there's only 4 games, but
right.
It was a little unexpected with it being like imagine the horror if that would have if it wouldn't have been like announced that Velasquez wasn't starting until like now,
Right. If 50% ownership or whatever he was going to be.
Because that's the first game to lock. So the tweets at the sites would be coming fast and furious, but at least we got it in time for that.
Let me take this question from Angry Vic. He says, Matt Moore is the long guy for Philly. He could be in line for the win if Hale only goes 3. What are your thoughts there? Cards.
Matt Moore really sucks. That's my thoughts. I mean, he was in the rotation at the beginning of the year and was absolutely awful. Like, feels a little too cute for me.
Is that the Matt Moore from the Rays long ago?
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
And that game's already locked,
around.
so he's stuck with whatever he decided. It locked a minute ago, but
okay.
Yeah, it's the same Matt Moore who this year has just, well, that's the reason why Velasquez was not in the rotation to start the year, and Moore was. And he has 10 walks and 16 innings and 13 earned runs allowed and some ugly batted ball data. So that's Matt Moore.
All right, guys, we are going to get on out of here. I just thought that was phenomenal. By the way, MHD says Velasquez 28% owned in a DKGPP.
Wow. Yeah, some people weren't.
Free money. It's the $4. Yeah, I mean, man, people don't, when stuff breaks late, a lot of times people don't catch it and don't change. For cards, for Carty, guys, phenomenal work. We're going to cut this. We're going to save this. We're going to send it into the Emmys or to the Fantasy Sports Hall of Fame or whatever the hell they do. We're going to win some awards for the show, mostly you guys. And of course, for Devin, working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate you guys. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.